Hey guys, it's Superstar0717. I have for you guys the Wolf Run Bant deck that I was talking about from the last video. I'm going to show it to you guys today, talk about the list, and in future videos we will update it as the weeks go by, similar to the way we updated the Werewolf deck. I still play the Reanimator deck. I think this is the deck I'm going to try to focus on playing a little bit more right now, just because I think it's a little bit more relevant in the format. Reanimators are good, but I think there's too many good sweeper spells for it to be like extremely effective as it used to be. And Boros Reckoner is just a house. So with that being said, currently we're going to focus on this list right now, and in the weeks to come we'll probably play some Reanimator, but like I said, we're going to be mainly focusing on updating this and playing this. So the first card we got is 3 Augur of Bolas. I don't run the 4th, neither did Melissa. I think the 4th one's kind of dead. Turn 2, you want to have a mixture of, throughout multiple games, you want to either Augur of Bolas or Farseek. Both of them are really good plays on turn 2, and opening up with double Augur is a little slow and clunky for this deck. Also, you'll get multiple triggers with Restoration Angel, and so you don't really need the 4. 3 works out relatively well. The 1/3 blocks a lot of aggro creatures, can trade with a few zombies, few of their other hasty creatures, and it usually takes a little bit more than just one creature attacking to kill it. It's a good card. I recommend playing at least 2. I've seen some builds running 2, but 3 is really the sweet spot for me, and it's been testing out really well. A lot of people have considered dropping this card for 3 Elvish Visionary. I get the, I understand the logic behind that. I would say once out of every 3-4 times Augur does miss, which obviously is problematic because then you just have a 1/3 for 2 that did nothing. But you could flicker it later in the game, which gets you card advantage. Elvish Visionary, you draw a card all the time, but there's nothing better than like Augur of Bolasing, revealing like a land, an Azorius Charm, and a Sphinx's Revelation on the 3rd card, or just having the Sphinx's Revelation be your 3rd card. And in that aspect, it is really good. Every once in a while, it'll brick you. It'll mill stuff, or not mill, but put stuff on the bottom of the deck that you really needed. But I think you really just gotta make a list of pros and cons, and I think the pros far outweigh the cons with this card. So 3 Augur of Bolas. Up next, we have 3 Centaur Healer, 3 life, relevant, 3/3 body, extremely relevant. Kind of slows down aggro, slows down Stromkirk Noble. Just a great card, one of the better cards in the deck. The 3 life is obviously extremely, extremely good. Gives you a little bit of breathing room, can effectively buy you a turn against aggro. Obviously you can flicker him with Restoration Angel, which you'll see every creature in this deck, and we're only running 9 targetable creatures that can be flickered. 10 creatures that can be targeted with Restoration Angel. All 10 of them have good synergy with it, and it makes Restoration Angel a really powerful card. So 3 Centaur Healer. It should be noted though that Melissa ran the 4th Centaur Healer in the sideboard. I'm choosing not to do that, just because I don't think it's really needed once you have Rock's Faith Mender. So we're running 4 Restoration Angel. MVP of the deck. This is your main win condition. The card advantage you get from it, and just being able to swing in over the top with like a 16/4 Restoration Angel happens quite often. So it's pretty good. You know, obviously the nut combo with Thragtusk is pretty good. So 4 Restoration Angels. Real quick about Centaur Healer. A lot of people have considered dropping Centaur Healer for 3 Loxodon Smiters. I've tested it out, and I really don't like it. Loxodon Smiter and Centaur Healer, for the most part, will trade with creatures of the same power toughness. Obviously, the 4 power toughness is a little bit more relevant. But most of aggro creatures top out at 3 toughness and power, like Hell Rider. So this guy trades with Hell Rider. However, they both will die after a trade and a burn spell, so you're not getting too much extra advantage, and 3 life does help. If you have a heavy control meta, then possibly Loxodon Smiter would be better. But I still think that, you know, Centaur Healer by himself, 3/3, swinging in, is definitely a threat. Obviously the 4 damage is a little bit better, but you have to weigh the pros and cons. You have a 3 mana 3/3, gains you 3 life, or a 3 mana 4/4 that relatively does nothing. It can come into play and cheat it, you know, if they play Liliana and make you discard, but how often does that really happen? probably not too often. So that is the reason why I run that. If Olivia is a problem in your meta, maybe you might want to go with Loxodon Smiter, but it's not in mine, and so I choose to run the Centaur Healer. So the last creature of the deck is 4 Thragtusks. There you go. Doesn't really need much explanation, it's just Thragtusk. It just kind of gets in there, does a lot of work, and is a great card. So 4 Thragtusks. Now on to the instants and sorceries. So we're running, start out with a playset of Sphinx's Revelation. I've seen some decks on Magic the Gathering online that choose to drop a Sphinx's Revelation and a what do they drop? A Sphinx's Revelation and a Detention Sphere for 2 Angel Serenity. I think it's an alright play. I really think having 4 Sphinx's Revelation and always having one in the first few turns, or having one in the first few turns is always really good. Obviously you're not casting it in the early game, but whenever you have like a Sphinx's Revelation, you cast it for a huge amount, and then you can chain it another one the next turn, and then another one the next turn. By then you pretty much won the game. So I do think 3 is alright, but me personally, I like it at 4. Melissa tested it at 4, and I think it was Raphael Levy, possibly, also ran it at 4 with no Angel Serenity in the main deck or the side. But it is something to try out. A lot of times this deck will draw into all its threats, and you'll essentially have no way to really kill them since you're not milling them like the Esper type mill decks. You won't have a way to mill them. So once you run out of threats, this deck pretty much has no way to deal damage, and you probably will have to scoop it up. Angel Serenity makes it so that you can exile your Thragtusk and other cards, and just have more gas after the fact. So that's the reasoning on both sides of the table. You can kind of pick and choose how you want to run it. I choose the 4 Sphinx's Revelation for me. So the next card in the deck is probably the most underrated card in Standard right now, is Farseek. I know that gets said a lot, but it truly is such a great card. Fixes mana and accelerates you. Not a lot of things are better than dropping a turn 4 Thragtusk, so good card is good. So 4 Farseek. Now up next, probably one of the more broken cards of the deck, is 4 Azorius Charm. I've used every single mode on this card and won because of it. The cycling ability lets you draw into your other cards, fix your lands early game. The bounce effect slows your opponent down, gets you some tempo. And the lifelink, while not as relevant as you'd think it is, it does get in there from time to time. So 4 Azorius Charm. Like I said, it's pretty much an auto 4 in this deck. I've seen some people toy around with cutting one, and I have tried to cut one before, and it just didn't really work out like I thought it would. I always felt really awkward not having the 4th one in the deck, because like I said, you do draw so much with this deck, and you'll really notice when you don't have the 4th one in it. So 3 Supreme Verdicts, pretty self-explanatory. This deck isn't necessarily like a counter-based deck. It's just kind of like a control the board and just put down threat after threat, and gain a bunch of life. So 3 Supreme Verdict, slows your opponent down. Up next, the only 2 main deck counter spells are 2 Dissipate. Melissa DeToro chose to run 2 Dissipate and a Syncopate in the main board, and then 2 Negates in the sideboard. I have 2 Dissipates in the main board and 2 Negates in the sideboard. Syncopate's a good card, but a lot of times it won't be a great card, especially if your opponent is up on mana and they're able to pay for it effectively. Becomes a problem. And with this deck, the games can go really, really long, to the point where you can syncopate them for like 8 and they'll still be able to pay it. So I don't like it. I like Dissipate. It kind of just says no, and just that's it. And you're only running 2 for their big threats, like their bombs, like So 2 Dissipate, good card. The fact that it exiles is really relevant against the Snapcaster Mage matchup. So 2 of those. Up next, another difference between our deck and Melissa DeToro's deck is that we're running 2 Detention Spheres. She only ran 1 in the main and 1 on the side. We run 2 in the main and 1 on the side. It's a good card, obviously. It exiles a lot of stuff. It really makes your opponent play more cautiously, and if they play around it and you don't have it, it's that much better. And just being able to 2-for-1 this with 2 Boros Reckoners is just stupid. So 2 Detention Spheres, pretty good. You can exile your opponent's planeswalkers and stuff. And so this card just puts in a lot of work. So 2 Detention Spheres. Some people run 3, main deck and 1 side deck. I just run 2 main and 1 side. So the last card in the deck is not Think Twice. I've played Think Twice for a few weeks now, but I really think a better card is Aurelia's Fury. This deck has so much card advantage and so much draw that the extra 2 cards from 1 Think Twice, while being good, are not crucial. With Aurelia's Fury, you can just do so much with it. You can force activations of Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. Sorry about that. You can one-sided board wipe late game. You can deal them a huge amount of damage. Like, it's not uncommon to deal like 13 damage with this card. 10 of that going to the player, 3 of that tapping down 3 creatures, and then just attacking with like a Thragtusk and a Beast token for game. Like, it happens all the time. 2 Aurelia's Fury has just been amazing. If you guys haven't tried this out in like Bant Run, it is so good. A card that I thought I was going to test out in this slot before, I've tested out Blind Obedience, which wasn't terrible, it just wasn't great. Late game it really didn't do much, it kind of just sat there, and you got extort triggers off of it, but it wasn't like anything ridiculous. And I've also tested out 2 Jace, which weren't insane. I tested out obviously the 2 Think Twice, and the last card, and it's kind of escaping me right now. Oh, damn, that Legion card, the red-white, I think it's like 5 mana, puts a mustard counter at the beginning of your upkeep, and then also puts a 1/1 haste creature under the board for each muster counter you have. I've tested it, and it was good, but it just didn't end the game like this card. Worst, or best case scenario, you'd be dropping that card turn 4, the muster card, and while you would slowly build into like an unstoppable force, it just didn't like end the game. This card will end you the game. It delays your opponent from alpha striking you. It makes them have to beat you with creatures, which is which is really good. And so I really think this card is a really good card. I'm gonna test more in this slot to see if this is the best card for the job. But for now, I really think it is. I think it's putting in a lot of work, and I've definitely not been disappointed to draw one of these. Even early game, just doing it for 3, and just do and then hit them and make them have to drop creatures only is just pretty good. So 2 Aurelia's Fury. So that's it for all the spells. Now for the mana. Now the mana does run a large number of Ravnica duels. However, it should be noted that during the first 2 turns, more often than not, both of them are going to come into play tapped. You'll take no damage. And turn 4 you usually also put into play tap, and you'll have like an Azorius Charm to basically put them down a turn. So there are a large number, but you don't take damage too often from your lands. So first we have 4 Temple Gardens. Basically just, I mean, the lands are pretty self-explanatory, so it's 4 Temple Gardens. Sorry, dropping stuff over here. So 4 Temple Gardens, 4 breeding pools. It's actually pretty sweet. I've got a pack of magic cards from Walmart. I bought like 5 packs, and I pulled a foil breeding pool and a Sacred Foundry in the same pack, and I was able to trade that foil breeding pool for 3 regular breeding pools, and in this deck it ran a Sacred Foundry, so it was actually a pretty sweet pack. 4 Hallowed Fountains. We're running 14 Ravnica duels, which is pretty high, like I said. Up next we're running 4 Hinterland Harbors. Some people experimented with only running 10 or 12, and it just, I don't think it's a good play, because you really need them to come into play untapped when you need them, which seems obvious, but I mean, you'll take the damage, but you'll gain it back later. So 3 Glacial Fortresses, 2 Sunpetal Groves. I think Melissa was running 3 Sunpetal Groves instead of the 4th Temple Garden. I think Raphael Levy was running 2 Sunpetal Gardens and 4 Temple Gardens. So it really is up to you. I think I like this version with the 2 and 4 a little bit better, just because early being able to Farseek when you really need it, like when you have, I don't know, like, I guess like it doesn't really affect it, but I mean, just there'll be times when you really need like the double white, or you really need, a certain combination of things that go right, and you just kind of need it. That was a really bad explanation, but sometimes you just really need the Ravnica duels. The one of Bullet Lands, we're running 1 Steam Vent and 1 Sacred Foundry. Melissa DeTora was running a Sacred Foundry, a Steam Vent, and a Stomping Ground. However, Raphael Levy kind of broke this down really kind of clear that you'll never really need the third red source. And Melissa DeTora, in an article that she wrote, said that the Sacred Foundry was a dead card all day. Or not, excuse me, not Sacred Foundry. The Stomping Ground was a dead card, and that she had to actually mulligan a few hands because it wasn't one of these two lands. Or that it wasn't like the Temple Garden that she had to switch it out for. So there's that. These are your only two red sources for your Kessig Wolf Runs. And with that being said, you're running no basic lands in this deck. Every land is a dual land or a check land. So Ghost Quarter is a thing against this deck, but until it becomes like heavily played, we won't really have to worry about it too much. You'll usually have like a crazy amount of lands in this deck that you'll play. Obviously we play 25 lands, but you know, I've won games with like 20 lands on the board. So Ghost Quarter is a thing. It'll shut down your Kessig Wolf Run, which sucks, but you can still just beat him with a bunch of angels. So it is a card, but it's not seen play heavy enough for me to really be like genuinely concerned about it. The last cards are 2 Kessig Wolf Run. The finishers of the deck, just the deck plays really interesting. You'll play defense for like the first 6 to 7 turns, and you'll gain your life, and you'll sit there and you'll trade, and you'll bounce, and you'll gain tempo, and you'll draw. And it'll hit this point where you have a good board, you have counter magic to back it up, and then you just start tapping your lands for Kessig Wolf Run, and it's just disgusting. I've killed people in one huge swing from a Restoration Angel. You know, going in with Thragtusk, giving it trample, being able to trade like your Augur of Bolas, you know, for a Hell Rider is always a really good play. The deck does give you a lot of sweet plays like that. So 2 Kessig Wolf Run. They also just give you something to do with your mana. Just giving a creature trample for 3 mana is pretty sweet. So yeah, that's the 60 card deck that we're running. Now, we don't have a sideboard built yet. I have a list of what I'd like to do, and I can post that in a separate video. But for now, this is the 60 card main deck, and in the future, when we get the sideboard built, more tested and refined, go ahead and put that up. But for now, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe. Sorry if this video ran a little bit long, but I think it's a really good deck, and I did want to show it off. So thanks for watching, guys.